Hello and welcome to episode 69 of the Fixing Football podcast with me, Martin Miller.
Hey.
I'm here with full squad. It's Luke Foley, it's Scott Naylor, and it's Liam O'Meara. Boys, let's start with Liam. How are you doing, mate?
Very well. Got a little bit of a cold, so I've got a bit of a Barry White sort of going on at the moment, so that'll sound alright. What about you, Martin?
Fine. I'm fine. It's been a long weekend, but I'm alright. Scott, how are you doing, mate?
I am wonderful. I'm very, very well. Brilliant result for us on the weekend. The early kickoff at West Ham. Could not believe we got a result there. That's usually like recipe for disaster.
I can. We'll get into the football, but yeah. I can absolutely believe you got a result of that West Ham.
Luke, how are you doing, mate?
I'm alright, mate. Very well.
Have we had a positive weekend all round? I think it's almost all positive. Liam, we've got a bit of news though, haven't we?
Yes, we have. And
okay.
It is amazing news.
It is good.
Well, I don't want to be the one to say it. I feel there's too much pressure. I feel like you should say it, mine.
So we've been nominated for the Best Podcast Premier League category at the Football Content Awards, which we're all very happy about. I think it deserves a well done all round, mainly to me, but I'll pull you all in. I think we'll call it a team effort.
Well done,
yeah,
that's fair.
Mine has propped up the talent very well, so well done, mine.
No, I'm very happy. It's not like everyone who sends in a request form gets nominated, and it's in this world, in this podcasting world, it's a prestigious event and award to potentially win. So,
yeah, I have been to one of these awards before, once upon a time. Maybe I bet it's 10 years ago now, and even then it was still quite big, and it was at Old Trafford. Really good night. But this one obviously even bigger. I think now it's gone on some levels. I think since then.
It's hosted at Anfield last year, and this year it's going to be hosted at.
I thought you said it was prestigious.
Well, this year it's been hosted at what is widely received as the best stadium in the country, at Spurs' new stadium, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the literal toilet bowl. But we'll be representing our little old podcast. I want to thank everyone who's been listening and subscribing and stuff so far, and joining in fantasy football, or on Twitter or X, on Instagram, wherever you follow us or you've been listening and subscribing. I really appreciate it, and now everyone here does, so thank you very much. If you are listening and you aren't subscribed, which is about 50%, please do, because it does help us, and it helps us come and do stuff like this and make a good fist of it going forward. So thank you, everyone.
Like, you've already gone that far. Like, you're listening to our sad little podcast. Like, you might as well subscribe. Like, you've already done
prestigious little podcast.
Yeah, award nominated podcast.
Award nominated. Yeah.
So you're already most of the way there. So you might as well subscribe.
Luke, I would like you to pick a number between 1 and 4.
Oh, I'll go for 4.
Oh, unlucky. We're going to start with Manchester United from the weekend. We don't have to harp on too much. It was 0-0. Tell us your thoughts. It was the late one on Saturday, wasn't it?
5 o'clock, yes.
Can we call that evening? That's evening kickoff. It's not late kickoff. That's evening.
No, because there's crammed another one in on on a Saturday night now. If you want to do another one.
Sorry, not important. Sorry, Luke, go on.
Yeah, disappointing. I know Liam disagrees and says we played all right, but I thought we played average. I think we should be battering Palace. I said in the last podcast that we should be winning the next 8 or so games. They're very winnable. I think we're just missing that bite, something that star to kind of just take the scruff of the neck of the game and just say, I'm here, I'm going to score. I just think we're not there at all. There was promising, but I just can't get behind this playing out from the back and quick transition, because what happened on Saturday, basically Palace turned around and said, right, well, okay, if you're going to do that, we'll just sit back. And it got to the point where our centre-backs would just walk into the centre circle and no one was challenging them. They just kind of said, right, we'll play for the draw and possibly nick a goal. It's not the way I want to see United play.
I'm glad you mentioned centre backs. Can you talk to me what was going through Lisandro Martinez's head for this crazy kung fu double-footed thing? I mean, I know he doesn't hurt him and he doesn't make contact, but it's fucking mental, innit? Like, just to watch it. I only watched the highlights, but even the crowd, everyone on the crowd was like, "Oh."
Interestingly, no one's gone on with a classic defence. He's not that sort of player. No one's reeled that defence out of Lisandro Martinez, have they?
It red mist, and I think, Liam, you cannot comment on anything to do with red mist because you are one of the main players that I've played with that always used to get that red mist and do wild shit.
Lies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an absolute nutcase of a tackle. Completely pointless as well, by the way.
It's mental. It's so mental.
There was no needle in that game. Like, I don't know. Like, if it was, and we'll talk about Arsenal City in a moment. I'd almost understand it in that game towards the end, but in this game, it was just like going through the motions. Really, well, what it's worth. And I'll quickly talk about United, Luke. I don't think you were that bad. Really, you played all right. If a team was going to win that game, it would have been you. You've not got a clear goal-scoring striker, and that's the key difference, I think. Your goals are going to come from midfield. The problem is with that is that sometimes they won't come. And I think you played all right. You weren't poor. And I would say if you were poor.
It was 0-0, so like we don't have to crack on with it too much. Scott, would you like to pick a number between 1 and 3?
2.
Oh, right. Well, that's the Chelsea match.
Right.
We're going to talk about Chelsea. It was a good win.
Very good win. Very, very good win. Made my thoughts clear before the game that the early kickoff on a Saturday is not typically kind to Chelsea. Neither is West Ham away. It's been, I think the last time we won there was I think when we last won the league was the last time that we won at West Ham. So didn't really know what to expect, and you just see little things like Kudus hasn't scored yet. West Ham haven't won a game at home yet. Somerville hasn't started yet, and all those things. It's like it's just lined up for this to be the game where we get that first win. Kudus gets his first goal, and Somerville has a good debut. But we were brilliant. It was a weird one because West Ham were awful. Were really, really bad. We didn't look good because they were bad. It was a bit of I think Chelsea were good, but West Ham were also quite poor.
Yeah, both things can be true.
Yeah, it's right. We had
talk to me about Nicholas Jackson for a minute because I've been, let's call it critical.
Overrated. I've heard
all the above. All the money. Stand by it, but I mean, he had 2 good finishes.
Stand by it.
A little bit. I'm just going to die on that hill for a minute. But just give me Chelsea's fans and your views of this lad. He's done all right.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
He's done. If you look at the numbers, he's done excellent. I mean, 14 Premier League goals in his first year as a 22-year-old. Not a bad return, particularly playing for a club like Chelsea where that striker position has not been kind to a lot of players that we brought in. Bigger names with better careers than Nicholas Jackson have failed where he's succeeding. And he started the season really well. I think he's got 4 goals now, and he's 4 goals in 5. I think he's also got 2 or 3 assists as well. So the fans' perception of him, and it's always been that there's something there. Like you see him when he's link-up plays excellent. He can hold the ball really well. He's athletic. He's powerful. He's fast. Defenders, you can tell they don't like playing against him. He gives you a bit of a rough ride if you're a centre-half. But the problem Chelsea fans have always had is the inconsistency with his finishing, which you get with young strikers. It's going to happen. But when Chelsea are not in the position where they've got the luxury of waiting for somebody to find the feet, and the two goals, the finishes were the exact kind of things that last season he was missing. those one-on-one chances, seemingly quite easy, but they really weren't easy finishes at all. So the perception is like, if he can just work on that and get that finishing right, you've got a serious player on your hands. And early signs this season that he's doing exactly that. I don't know if you got the chance to see the highlights and catch any bit to see what you thought.
I watched it.
Oh, you see it all?
Yeah, and I mean, you were crying out for a striker, and it was no secret that you were chasing multiple ones, especially Osman towards the end. I think that was mentioned once or twice. Do you think, though, he has benefited as much as there has been chaos? He's featured quite a lot. Do you think that's been the benefit for him?
Somewhat, yeah, because there was big shouts that he should have been dropped for this game because he had a really poor. Well, to be fair, most of the Chelsea team were poor against Bournemouth, and Nkunku came on, did what top players and top finishers do, won the game out of nothing. So there was a big clamour for Nkunku to start because Jackson had sort of underperformed in the game before. But Maresca trusts him, clearly. I don't know if there's still an element of managing Nkunku's minutes because he came off a bad injury from last season. Maybe there's some of that. But it's clear that with each passing game, he's cementing his place. So I think, I agree. I think that the consistency of minutes that he's getting isn't doing him any harm, particularly now while he's absolutely on fire at the moment. And the connection with Palmer's interesting as well. I think they've combined for 10 goals since they started playing, which is, I think, more than anybody else in that period of time. So you're starting to see those partnerships. Obviously, it's a long way off, the Lampard and Drogba's, the Son and Kane's, those kind of things. It's a long way off that, but it's got the bones of it. You always know where each other are. It's very encouraging from a Chelsea perspective, for sure.
Liam, did you? I think you had some views on West Ham and of the way it ended for Moyes as well.
Well, yeah, they were poor, weren't they? Really, really poor. Very. I mean, they've had a terrible start to the season. It was a strange appointment.
Yeah, Lopetegui is brought in to sort of solidify and be extra creative as well, everything that Moyes wasn't.
Well, yeah, but he is everything that Moyes is, though. That's his whole brand. Like, it was a very strange appointment, and look, we talked for ages about why do West Ham want to get rid of Moyes. I think most people have covered that now, but yeah, he's looking in trouble. I think because they're already turning on him. Fans. Yeah, those famously patient West Ham fans who are on their never-ending journey to rediscover the West Ham way, and one day we'll see it.
Right.
I think Slaven Bilic got the closest, but I think he went down. So
I always love David Moyes' comments about that. I worked there for 5 years. I don't know what the West Ham way is either.
European trophy winner David Moyes. Right, Liam, it's your turn. Can you pick a number between 1 and 2?
But if I get the Arsenal number, does that mean I get to talk about Arsenal?
Yeah.
Okay. 2.
Oh, it's the Bolton match. Unlucky.
Nearly.
But not unlucky. Back to winning ways.
Yeah. Piece of piss. We're sick of winning every week. And we changed formation, went back to what we did last season, which meant that sort of the big money signings of Aaron Collins and John McAtee went back to the bench, and they played 2 up front with Dion Charles and Victor Adebayo, fresh from his spell on the sidelines from sneezing too hard. So he was back in the team, and the midfield free. So Sheehan came back into that defensive midfield position that essentially links the whole thing up. And we were on it from the first minute.
So just before the first minute, what was the atmosphere like? Because it's been tetchy the last 2 weeks, hasn't it?
Mixed, I would say. There was the banner that's done the rounds.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing I really saw, to be honest. I'm not going to pretend that I'm one for getting in the ground early. I'm very much in a... I don't see many kickoffs because I'm always down in the concourse still finishing my pint. But I didn't sense it being too tetchy. They don't tend to start tetchy. I think every ground deals with this sort of period differently. Bolton's way is that it will start in good intentions, but obviously if we go 2-0 down, then it will turn quite ferociously. Sometimes it will start badly. There was that banner, but that was it really. That's all I really saw. It was positive, I would say.
My other thing that I took from it when I saw the lineups was no Collins or McAtee. No, it's sort of reverting to type with just Dion Charles up there. But I mean, what did you make of that? And obviously, I mean, Charles got a hat-trick, so weren't a bad show.
Well, 2 of them were penalties. I mean, I don't want to dig him out after scoring a hat-trick. It's an interesting problem, that. It's an interesting problem, and particularly for McAtee, who does favour playing out wide.
Right, yeah.
Collins has played as a number 10, so that can be worked, and he did play in that position last season for Bolton as a second striker. But I think Adebayo, for me, is the first name on the team sheet at the moment. He's been really good this season when he's played. Obviously, hay fever depending. So we'll have to see. It's for them to find a place in the team. For me, if we're winning, I don't give a shit who's playing.
Yeah.
The onus is on, if they want to play, the onus is on them to get themselves in the team.
Fair enough. Well, at least you're back to winning ways.
Yeah.
Tough match coming up in the week.
Go on, Martin. Take us through the Arsenal. There's been a few things mentioned about Arsenal's performance.
Wait. Hold on, Martin. Pick a number between 1 and 4.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
4.
See what you get.
Oh, United again.
Oh, great. Oh, no. One more piece. Wolverhampton Wanderers. Go on, Martin. Talk us through.
Well, I mean, I think we all watched the match, and I'm not going to talk about Wolves, right? I'm going to talk about Arsenal City for a minute. There is a lot to unpack. It's a massive match. Liam, I feel like you're chomping at the bit, so I will. If you want to ask, I think I can have the answers for you.
Okay. I'm going to avoid my typical, quite difficult questions designed to inflame. And I'm just going to ask a very simple, honest question.
Okay.
Should Trossard have been sent off?
No. And there's a lot of caveats.
Can I just say,
that.
Luke, just so the people that obviously we've not done video yet, but Luke has his head in his hands at this answer. But please continue.
Beside himself.
He
shouldn't, but not just because it's Trossard and it's Arsenal. He shouldn't because it's a stupid rule.
So you think Luke should be pro justice and that this is Arsenal?
Luke, what's your take on this style of red card? This style of second yellow? Please tell me.
Well, there's no argument. It's a yellow. It's a second yellow for kicking the ball away. Then what's the argument? He's broke the rule. He needs to get a card. I know. Before you throw it back, when you say, "Well, Doku did the same thing," it was totally different situation.
It was totally different.
Completely different situation where the ball wasn't in the right place and Doku played it back to where the referee was pointing.
Completely agree.
Trossard has basically just booted the ball away on yellow.
Can I add to this before you answer, Mike?
Within a second, less than a second after the referee blew his whistle.
Go on.
I'm in the motion of kicking it.
I'm going to add, before you lie to everyone as well, that I've been really thinking about this last couple of days. Well, since the game, I've been really thinking about it. And I think Arsenal are a victim of their own tactics, because I think it's very much the game plan to take everything to the absolute line of what you can get away with all the cramping, the keeper going down so you can have your team talk, you're kicking up. And I think essentially you've had 2 incidents already this season where these tactics have bitten you. And yet, from the outside anyway, it looks like you're not willing to learn from that. And I do worry that it will happen again and it will continue happening because your tactics are simply, you are purposely pushing your luck about what you can do in a way that City, I think, used to do before they were clamped down on.
I'm struggling. I maybe need to reread the rules for this delaying the start rule, because
it's always been there, that rule.
I've only seen it implemented against Arsenal. Yes, delaying the restart of a game has but it's been like the goalkeeper taking too long with a goal kick or standing in the way of a free kick. Not this petty
booting the ball away.
Nah, yeah, it's booting the ball away. It is, and if you want to go super technical with it, yeah, like in the same way.
It's not that technical. It's not that technical.
It is.
He boots the ball away.
No, it's not that. It's not that black and white, because the referee's literally just blown his whistle. So he's in the motion of it. So, and it's like,
who's he passing to then? Can I ask?
Martinelli was out there. He'd have got it.
Yeah,
But that's fine. Listen, this is beside the point. I'm not going to argue because it's Arsenal.
Yeah, you are.
I do have a problem because, yeah, we seem to be the only team getting punished with it. We go back to João Pedro against Brighton a few times, or the Szoboszlai one against Liverpool. He did it. Nothing gets punished.
But does that affect?
Did it? Say he didn't, but he did. I say he did. What I'm bothered about is the PGMOL, whoever have come up with this rule, just inventing a rule and a metric to make themselves. Yeah, but not to this degree. You can't argue that it is. They're definitely having a clamp down on it for some sort of metric boosting. Look at us saving the game. They're making themselves have some sort of authority where it was never even an issue. No one was mourning about the amount of delays to the game that there was.
There's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of that today.
Maybe. Well, we could talk about them in a minute as well. I'd like to get onto the good things in a minute, but there's loads of good reasons why a player can be sent off, and this is just a pathetic one. Now, are Arsenal the stupidest team in the league, or is it just an absolute power trip?
Just outsiders.
Nah, I'm not buying it.
I do think, though, just to interject very quickly, to Liam's point, the tactics that you're employing is clearly instruction to play on the edge of stuff, but usually the teams who get away with this, it's not a team-wide thing. You've usually got a specialist. You've got Diego Costa who can do it, or a Fernandinho who's doing it. You don't usually tell all 11 to be at it as well. Yeah, Rodri. You don't usually tell all of them to do it. So,
or on a yellow.
I do think,
like that's the nuts thing here. Like he's on a yellow.
And I'm sorry, I don't give a shit what anyone says. The foul on Bernardo was a yellow anyway. He was going anyway. He just made it really easy. And I'm
so Haaland should have got a yellow then.
No, but that was a 50. You were both going for a header. Like we had this yesterday. Like they were both looking at the. I watched it. Haaland's looking at the ball when he's going for that.
Martin, can I ask one more question on this, and I think we can move on.
Was
Trossard silly to kick that ball on a yellow card?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the sort of questioning that we could have dealt with. I thought you were staying away from these weird, shitty Jim White questions.
No, but I feel like people need to understand.
Everyone's watched the match. Yeah, and everyone's already made up the mind that it's a stupid idea to send someone off.
No, they've not.
All right, well, non-Arsenal fans have made this up then.
Is there agenda against Arsenal by the PGMOL?
No, there isn't. I'd like to see other people get punished for it at some point, but
you're the one doing it all the time.
We're not the only ones doing it. We're the only ones getting punished.
PGMOL are cracking down on it. You're just the worst offenders.
Yeah. Honestly, the referees.
Yeah, let's get to the good stuff because there are good stuff, Martin. It's not all negative, Martin. Let's get to the good stuff about Arsenal.
Down.
Don't get so negative, Martin.
I am a bit hurt. But it's a good hurt in a way. I don't think we deserved the draw, but if you'd have offered me before the game, I would have took it. So I don't know. The first half, there's a lot to like. City started well. Haaland's just a fucking machine. Luke cursed it last week when he said, "Has Haaland ever scored against you, Martin?"
Fucking that
goal was a bit easy, wasn't it? That was a bit easy.
P-roller. It was a P-roller, wasn't it?
It looked easy, but the way he's shaped, he's always going to go across the goalkeeper there, and he just.
Oh, it's a good finish. It just seemed a bit easy. Yeah, but anyway.
I said it before. This defense, absolutely. This defense gets me so buzzing, gets me horny. Honestly, I couldn't think of a better word for it. I couldn't. Like Timber, class. He's been class. Saliba, absolutely solid. Calafiore. Go on, please interrupt. I was looking forward to someone interrupting me.
I know what's coming here.
Do you remember what I said about Jeremy Doku recently? And how if the fullback is under the age of like 28, he has a stinker and can't get past him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Case in point, Doku had nothing against Jeremy. And Timber played really well. I was actually supporting your point. But
it was very hard.
I like being proven right.
It was very hard for the wingers because the defenders were the wingers run too, and they had no interest in going beyond that position either. So it's all well and good running, but then they're at the destination. So there's no.
It's very. I think because the second half seemed to go on for about 3.5 hours. I think people are forgetting the first half as well, and it wasn't the same. Arsenal were quite narrow, and City's wingers were super wide. So at times, that's when you see Martinelli and Saka in them fullback positions rather than Timber and Calafiore. Calafiore was class, I thought. Bit of a dodgy start for maybe the first 5 or so minutes, but after that, it was class. Just intense. And
Martinelli struggled, I think, with that, didn't he? He struggled with keeping the ball, didn't he?
He did struggle keeping the ball, but it's maybe his best game for us this season, which isn't saying a lot because he's not been on good form, but I thought he played really well. He did what he had to do, worked hard. Everyone just had to work hard. Calafiore reminds me like not a modern Italian player. Modern Italian players are quite rigid and
he's like Gallas.
He is a little bit. That's sort of
just like maraudering.
It is a good comparison. That he is very much like that, but more beautiful and intense. Just
oh god, here we go.
His goals class. It's like trying to think like Saliba's against Bournemouth. I think the other season. Gabriel just unstoppable on corners. I love it when they switched from Doku to Walker and he still just powered through him. Raya, White, Kivior, Partey, Havertz, even Jesus when he came on, all defended really, really well. And I thought I think City will be rattled by their lack of creativity in the second half.
Definitely rattled. I mean, like all they've done is slate you today. Like they are definitely you are definitely under their skin.
We reduced it to the centre back shooting from 25 yards for like 50 minutes of the game, which is. I mean, it's anti-football.
Like bitter ex, aren't they? Like a bitter ex girlfriend, aren't they? They're just hating on you from a distance.
Yeah, they absolutely hate you. They're like, well, at least Liverpool used to attack. Like,
yeah. Although that is interesting, though. Is that good or bad? Like, I first read it as you're under the skin, and that's a good thing. But now I've had time to think on it. I'm like, is this the fire that they needed? Because everyone was thinking, are they going to go again? Can they really be arsed winning a fifth? They've all won it all. They've all won everything multiple times. Is having someone to hate a good thing for them? Maybe.
Yeah, actually, I thought because a lot of people were talking about us needing to go there and win, being more of a statement than maybe winning at the Emirates and settling for a draw. I think in the end we had to settle for a draw because of the way the game played out. Even though we was winning at that point, you can't think that you're just going to sit there and soak up the attack. I don't know anyone who could go and do that. But yeah, like I say in NFL, it's offense will win you games and defense will win you championships. Defense, Luke. Well, Luke, you're shaking your head and I don't think you agree with a lot of what I've just said.
I think you were pathetic, to be honest, second half. All the way through. Pathetic. You set up a 6-3 and then potentially it was a 7-2 for 30 minutes. How can you call that football? You might as well just get Sean Dyche to go and fucking defend. It was horrendous. I can't believe you're saying you're title contenders and you go into City and he's sitting back with 1 million people in your own box.
Just 10, Luke, because we got one wrongly sent off. What are you talking about? It's an unbelievable defensive display. What are you talking about?
It wasn't.
You sound like you've never watched football now. If that was United, you'd be absolutely pissing me.
Any bottom league, bottom half team will do that. Sit in their own box.
And they'll get broke down.
And you did.
Eventually.
I will say, I think you were more defensive than I've ever seen. I think that's. I'm not saying it from Luke's criticism position. I think it was the right tactic. I think the result shows that. Yeah. But I've never seen anyone that defensive. I watched Bolton in the Premier League for years, and I don't even think we were that defensive. Like the point of just literally kicking the ball up and going, right, here we go again. It reminded me of Chelsea away at Barca when they won the Champions League, where it was literally like, we're going to see this half out.
What was the last,
we're planting our flag here.
What was the second half of that sentence that you just said? It reminded you of Chelsea at Barca. What?
We're planting our flag here, and
No.
we're going to defend.
When they won the Champions League. So what you
Well,
fucking
all
have
right,
to
yeah,
do sometimes.
I mean,
No,
slightly different.
How is it?
Because we won the Champions League and you won the shit.
Yeah, but if we'd have had this conversation just after that match and before the Champions League final, Luke would be sat there calling you pathetic anti-football team.
Yeah, but we win shit, so it don't matter.
One shit. Luke, you got to elaborate here. Can't just sit there, call us pathetic and walk off.
I just told you the reason. I think that second half performance was horrendous. Like Liam said, I've never seen a team defend in their own box, and you praising like these centre backs. It was everyone in the box. How can it was just?
We're playing the best team in the world, Luke.
I thought you was meant to be the best team.
No, the official one, not just in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think City played terrible yesterday, and I think they was there for the taking. I don't know why you went that defensive.
Because we had 10 men. What are you not understanding here? We didn't have the players on the pitch. It's most teams in the world in the last 7 years have struggled to beat City with 11 on the pitch. Even when City have gone down to 10, which never happens. So, with 10 men, what are you meant to do? Bring Jesus on and Sterling and start catching them on the break? It ain't going to happen, mate, because then we're going to lose. We were 2-1 up and we nearly did it.
Nearly, being the point.
Yeah, and we still got a draw, which I'd have taken at the beginning of the game.
I completely disagree. I think you could have won that game.
How can you not appreciate a good defensive display?
Nah.
Oh, are you attack?
That wasn't defensive. You had just 11 men in the. Might as well put 11 men in front of the keeper, next to the keeper.
10.
That's what it was like. Scott?
I'm going to, on the very rare occasion, I'm going to stick up for Arsenal. And I think, what a fucking amazing result that is. 10 men at the Etihad. A 2-2 draw. It was the tiniest part of me felt a little bit, when Stone scored. Quickly overtaken by, fuck you. What? I think, the main question that I had was, it's actually a 2-part question for you. Do you now think, given today's breaking news about Rodri, you are now the favourites?
No, City's still 2 points in front of us, and they're the best team, and they're still 2 points in front. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm not sure they are. I was talking about this yesterday, and I was looking at the two lineups, and I was thinking, man for man, I think you've got a better team than them.
I do, but I'm biased.
Absolute nonsense.
Talking dribble, Liam.
It's nonsense, that. No, but a question for you on your team, Martin. Very quick question before we potentially move on to other things. Your top scorer is Gabriel. Does that concern you a bit?
Yeah, goals have been a little bit hard to come by, but when you look back at some of the games I've played at, I mean, the Brighton one didn't go to plan. We've actually drawn 3 of our last 4 games. But our games, we had Villa away, Spurs away, Atalanta away, and then City away, with Brighton at home, and just in the middle of that, we've had really hard run of fixtures, and yeah, I mean, this is what you do when you make the most of the opportunities you've got, and you become good at set pieces. So when games are tight, you got to try and do it.
Inventing set pieces that they've done at Arsenal.
I know you've gone with inventing. I'm going to go with perfecting. I think we've
by blocking the keeper. That revolutionary tactic, stopping the goalkeeper from moving.
Having an absolute monster. You all sound pretty bitter. Let's move on. Before we leave this match, we've got to mention Haaland for a second. 100 goals in 105 games, only matched in European football by Ronaldo at Real Madrid. I mean, who wants to go first and talk about how good this lad is?
He's a freak, isn't he? The thing is, when he signed for City, the narrative going around is what's turned out to happen. He's going to come in, dominate this league, he's going to break the goal record. And I was looking at it a bit like, other players have come to this league on a lot of hype and failed massively. So mine was very tense. I was like, let's just see what happens. Like, he might come and fuck it up. He might come and not be this, this generational striking talent that we're all talking about. And he fucking proved me wrong. He's absolutely fucking ridiculous. He's almost horrible to watch in a weird way. He's so like unpleasant on the eye, but out and out goal scoring, he's on a different planet to most strikers I've ever seen. Not sure what everyone else thinks. I'm sure that maybe that's echoed times 4, but...
Well, Luke, I'm going to ask you, do you think, this is my wild take, that Haaland will go down as the best striker ever by the time he's finished? As number
in the Premier
one.
League? In the Premier League or...
Wherever he goes. Across Europe.
No.
At 23, he's already on track to beat every record that there ever was.
He won't beat Ronaldo. Ronaldo will be considered the best goal scorer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Maybe. I do think that Ronaldo's got... I mean, I think he will. Haaland, I think he's on track for it. I think every record's there to be beaten and he's on his way.
I don't think he'll beat the Premier League record. I don't think he'll stay long enough. I think Shearer's record will be still intact.
Liam?
If he does stay, he will break it, though. If they do manage to work it out where he sticks around, he'll absolutely piss it.
He's just a big goth, isn't he? He'll be all right.
Goth Viking. What else was I going to talk about? Liam, it's Arsenal Bolton this week. The OG FFP derby.
Yeah.
Are you going?
No, I'm not, unfortunately. Couldn't find anyone to go with, and you wouldn't go. So
I've got family duties, unfortunately.
Your sat-nav's not working, you don't know where the Emirates is, so... And, unfortunately, no, I'm not going. I had a friend down there who was like, I'll meet you there and watch a game, and I thought, well, I'm not just travelling on my own all day. Like, that's 2 days off work. If I was going to do it, I'd get steam in, I'd do it properly. But
it don't have to be 2 days off work.
Well, it does though. Like, I mean, what time am I setting off? 1 o'clock? What time am I getting back in the morning? 2 a.m?
Yeah.
3 a.m? Yeah, it's a bit of a slog, unfortunately. I think we've got about 4,000 going down.
Oh, that'll be good.
Bolton fans, so yeah, it's a shame. But we'll obviously talk about the idea of midweek games and too many games shortly. But yeah, I'm thinking 3-1 Bolton. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm thinking world record attempt by Arsenal. I think it's going to be daft.
No, we're quite good at defending set pieces, so we'll see.
Well,
who's going to do the attacking at you two then?
Well, Man City was the perfect preparation for Bolton's ball possession style. World famous possession football from playing from the back in Bolton Wanderers. So we'll see. I think we'll. If you actually what I actually think will happen, I think you'll play a rotated team, and I think we'll compete for about 30-40 minutes, and then you'll overrun us, and you'll probably win about 3 or 4-0.
Imagine if Saka plays.
He does. He definitely is starting.
Yeah, Saka's played about 1,000 games by the time he's 21-year-old. So, but apparently there's too many games. But there's absolutely no way he can't play in any game. Like, but he's playing too many games. But I'll play him in this game.
Liam, is there too much football?
Good question. And I think the answer depends on who you ask, doesn't it?
Well,
if you ask the fans, I don't think they're that asked. I think they get on board with the idea because they hear it sounds quite good. But I think most fans will watch football if it's their team on telly. So I don't think they truly care. If you ask players, they say yes. And there's a lot going on at the moment with the PFA and FIFPro, who are suing a lot of leagues and organisations and tournaments at the moment with regards to there being too many games. And I think FIFA have launched another version of the Club World Cup. There's 2 versions of it now, I believe. One that is the 32-team tournament that we talked about in a previous podcast. Listen to it. And also the one that is the version of the current one, which is the winner of each regional thing, has also been announced. So Real Madrid are going to play in 2 Club World Cups in successive years. And yeah, it's absolutely nuts, the amount of games. But again, it depends on who you ask, because from the league's perspective, more games is more money. And what we'll talk about is the fact that a lot of these leagues are now losing money on their deals. The bubbles
Massively.
burst a little bit on that. So they're looking at new revenues. But I could talk all day on this, but I'll let someone else answer.
Look, this week, or maybe last week, Rodri came out and was mourning, talking about strike action, about the fixture congestion. I think Arteta mentioned it as well. Spoken about fixture pile up. We spoke a while ago about the League Cup and maybe doing something with that. That was our original fix. But is there something else that needs to be done? Is there something more drastic that needs to be done to avoid this? It's clearly a problem that's affecting the players.
I don't think there is, to be honest. I think if we're going down the injury route, I think that's part and parcel of football. They're always going to get injured. It's just the intensity they play, and I think I can't think of something that they could implement that will change things. What they're going to do unless they get rid of one of the cups.
Well,
the League Cup.
Let me jump in here, Luke, because that's quite interesting. Here's what I think the ideal UEFA position of English football is. That England's one of the very few places that has 2 domestic cups now. Might be only England and Scotland, to be fair. I think France dropped theirs a few years back. I think it's only England and Scotland that still have the League Cup. So I think in an ideal world, from UEFA's perspective, they would drop the League Cup. And we've talked about the League Cup quite a lot because no one actually really watches it, apart from big sides that can't get tickets normally. Like, there's a reason that draw was quite effective for the Bolton. But then, also, you've still got a 20-team league in the Premier League. A lot of domestic leagues have got smaller top flight to allow for more European games. And that would free up a lot if you did those 2 things. And I think that's UEFA's position, is that the English game isn't really yielding to allow for more revenue to come in, because essentially the Premier League is the one that's making all the money. So they're almost like hoarding the product a little bit, whereas the West of Europe is pushing for not only more midweek league games, but potentially European games being played at the weekend, with some Premier League games being moved into the midweek instead of the League Cup. So they're what UEFA would want in an ideal world.
What's your initial view when you hear people like Rodri, many consider him probably the best centre midfielder in the world at this point? He's complaining of fixture congestion and pile up. Just come off winning the Euros. He's a year after winning a treble with City, playing 70 odd games or whatever it comes to when you have to win a treble.
Really raised eyebrows.
Yeah. What eyebrows?
What's your initial thought about that?
Well, like most things with football, he's completely disconnected from reality, and so there's no line of work. He's not special in that if you want to get to the top of any line of work, any profession, you ain't working a normal. Your life is not normal. If you want to be the CEO of a big company, for an example, you don't do 35 hours a week and clock out and have your weekends to yourself. That shit doesn't happen. It's highly super competitive. The rewards are massive. And you're working probably 50, 60 hour weeks, maybe even more. All your free time's sacrificed for it. You give up a lot to get to those positions. Now, I think there's clearly a limit as to what a human body is going to be capable of. Even players like Rodri, who are highly trained to a ridiculous level from a very young age. But ultimately, these players get compensated. It boggles the mind how much these people get paid. And I think to start complaining about this is in fucking horrendous taste, when it's the same principle applies of being overworked and not doing normal stuff. That applies to any line of work that you can think of if you want to make it to the top. And also, what I think people like Rodri aren't really considering is that do you not think that these extra games are needed to pay him? Like, he's on 300 grand a week or whatever he's on. And big clubs like Manchester City have a roster of players, 20 players, all earning that sort of money. City may be a bad example because they're funded by, they've got more money than God. But in general, where do these players think this money's going to come from? Their wage demands aren't going down. Why not get a bit more intelligent about how you negotiate your next contract and ask for your game time to be limited? And they won't do that because that's going to lead to a drop in pay. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. They want to work less and get paid the same, if not more. And there's no world in which that works. So, yeah, I think he's completely disconnected from reality. And I think that if he's going to be the main beneficiary of all this extra money, then he can't have it both ways.
Scott, yeah, do you wish that people cared enough about their own working conditions rather than those of footballers? Do you think we'd have a better society if people actually looked at their own work instead of worrying about what Rodri's getting paid for now, essentially not doing anything for a year?
Yeah, precisely. I just think it's complete. And I get, like, this is all that people like Rodri have known. This is their whole life from, I don't know what age he would have started playing, but at least
and other footballers that have moaned about this, by the way. I feel like we're really digging in on Rodri today.
Yeah, I just took the opportunity, but he was the last one to say it, so that's why he's getting it. But
yeah, there was someone else going on about striking as well, some other dickhead. And I think, well, fuck off then. Well, don't. You'll still want your money though, won't you? Because you're contracted. That's what you fuck off. Give all your money back and don't play. And hey, the Chelsea 40-player squad doesn't seem like such a bad idea now, is it? All these extra legs to replay all these games.
I was going to suggest that as a fix. Liam, you mentioned that FIFA Pro, the PFA, whoever, are all like considering, or that this is a serious consideration that they're talking about strike action or something if something's not done.
I don't think it'll go that far.
I think Scott made a good point though about the money side, and then you mentioned before about TV deals, the arse falling out of them a little bit.
Well, that's a big factor in all this. That's what everything comes down to. Essentially, it is money. Let's not make any bones about it. Scott's right in what he's saying, but the money's got to come from somewhere, and the downward trend is for everybody. Even the Premier League has theoretically the money revenue per game on that new deal is less than the previous one, and I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
It was the same money, but a longer term, weren't it, on the deal?
Yeah, longer term and more games.
Yeah.
So they had to sell a bigger package essentially, and every other league, I believe, has had to downward negotiate on their TV deals. And
to a point where, like, Italy and France didn't even have one up until the week of the start of their seasons.
I believe France is like 50% of the previous deal, something as low as that.
And
so I think it's only the EFL. I think it's the only EFL that's gone up, and we've gone into why that is. That's a unique case, but they do have to look. The clubs, you can understand why things like the Super League and stuff like that really come to fruition, because these big clubs do need this revenue. Like, it's not just about everyone, all things are equal, because in the real world they're not.
Luke, I don't want to take this away from footballers being people, though, and they are limited by the physical capabilities of humans. In FIFA Pro and the PFA's review, I saw a tweet. It was by Henry Winter. I want to read it out. It's about Julian Alvarez. And it was 344, the number of days that Julian Alvarez's season lasted. Now, this is obviously coming to the end of this one. It began on August the 6th and ended the 15th of July. 68 games for Man City and Argentina. It was actually 364 days, given that Alvarez reported early to pre-season, and then started within a week in Yokohama, and then 3 days later in Bayern, in Munich, and then some games in Tokyo. This was when the season hadn't even actually started. Not all Alvarez games were starts, but his hard running style meant he played his part, delivers. His mind and body inevitably get drained. He covered roughly 80,000 miles in international travel, which is again draining, even for a guy at 24. He's not someone who's been outspoken about it, and like Scott said, he's very well rewarded for this. But that calendar of over 50% of players play that amount of games, as opposed to, we could talk about squad size and stuff. You're someone who's concentrated on fitness for a long portion of your adult life, is the physical demands too much for this amount of games that they're having to play?
Well, if you boil it down to just exercise in general, there's three kind of categories you have. You have duration, frequency, and intensity, and it's how you manage them three. So I think rotation is a must, and I'm sure every team manages. They knows exactly how many miles they've run, and what intensity they've run, what the duration as well. I think you definitely need to rotate, and I can't believe with something that's got million pounds pumped into it that they're not managing like them three factors: duration, frequency, intensity. That just baffles me. If it and it goes back to my point before in regards to injuries, that is just part and parcel of football. It's just the case of how intense it is and the different directions they take. Them injuries, like Rodgers' injuries, is going to happen. It's not like running where it's very linear. It's the direction change. It's the impacts. It's just part and parcel. But I think what you're saying about Alvarez, maybe a good solution. I think I've said this before. Is this international break that they have in the middle of the season? I do think we should condense it into one single period at the end of the season, have all the qualifiers in that, and then and then move on to, if this is, not a tournament, but just have that in the summer, just get the all internationals out of the way. So the travels, that brings down the travel during the season. Yeah. And then it might be a solution that way. And possibly get rid of one of the cups, like Liam said.
So I think another thing to remember about this as well, when we're thinking about these, massive, widespread rule changes and dropping competitions, the amount of players that this really impacts is so small. Like you're talking that football is already like 0.5% of 1%. You're talking a tiny pool of people to begin with, and then the people who are actually going to play the maximum number of games. Because they like to band it around as, like the headline jockeys and all, the Fifth Pro and all these other idiots like to talk about, they could play 85 games this season. It's like, well, yeah, 22 of them might, but for most teams, this isn't going to be a problem. Okay, yeah, some teams might have a deep cup run, but there ain't going to be that many players that actually play this many games. And if they do, then you charge it to the game. This is what you're playing for. If you do play the 85 games or whatever it is, you're in a team that's winning the league, winning the cups, at least getting to the finals. So what the fuck do you want? Stop fucking moaning about it and get on with it.
I will add to that, though. I think we need to consider burnout, because that is a real thing. Athletes do get that, where, again, I've talked about it before, duration, frequency, intensity, they're at all high level. If you're constantly going up, burning both ends, you're going to get burnout, and that's not anyone that wants to be in that position, especially athletes.
But it's like someone like Rodri, who's brought this up, he's going to play 70 of those 80 games. Like all the best players in each team, more than half of each team who are playing these elite games are going to be playing 90% of the games available. So maybe you're right that it does affect a small number of people.
It's like, let's use City as the example. There's only going to be one team facing the other. Let's say City and Real Madrid. Everyone else is like, and as you go backwards through the chain, the number of games starts to drop. And a lot of these teams that are going to be complaining about it are going to be getting knocked out in earlier rounds of cups. And so you're only talking the elite of the elite who this is going to happen to. And you get paid the most. And you get all the glory, you get all the fame, and you get... So I don't understand what these people want. Like, you can't have it all. There's a trade-off for everything. And you can't just be wrapped in cotton wool and still win all the trophies and still get all the glory and still take home £500,000 a week. I just fail to. And again, these guys, they're the ones getting the most benefit. The owners don't make as much, anywhere near as much money. The owners probably a lot of owners probably take nothing out of these clubs.
Yeah,
they are the almost sole main beneficiaries of all these games and all this money. Got to come from somewhere. I don't know. I agree with a lot of what we were saying about burnout. You need to manage that, and I do think that the answer doesn't lie in getting rid of games. It's just give people bigger squads. There's money coming out of their arse. This is why they're playing all these games.
Yeah. I think that's a fix, Liam. But even in EFL world, the teams are looking at 55 game seasons at a minimum. We've got a couple cup games, 46 games in the league. They are required by the FA to give a 4-week break. So that condenses your season down to 48 weeks and between 50 and 55 games for most EFL clubs. Is that too much still?
It's always been too much, but the problem is that there's no way of reducing it, because each of the competitions, even away from it, like the EFL Trophy and both cups, if you progress, they're worth too much money to these clubs. So there's very little to be done on it. I think in the year Bolton won the EFL Trophy, they had progression in quite a few cups, and there's a lot of games. Even last season, I think we got to the quarterfinals of the EFL Trophy, second round of the EFL Cup, and I think third round of the FA Cup with a replay. It's a lot of games, but we rely on the prize money. So
look, as a fan,
just got to suck it up.
As a fan of watching football, I want to see it every night of the week, and obviously I'm target audience for the demand that's being put on these players.
Well, this is it. At the end of the day, fans will watch it. I will be watching after today Fleetwood versus Morecambe. I will watch that, and I'm looking at the clock because it's well into the start of it. So, but that's just what we do.
But Luke, is bigger squads the fix? Do we need to, if we could alleviate, especially for these big teams, because they're the ones who are going to mourn? I don't know. There's got to be a fix here, because then you've got FFP stuff, and you can only buy so many players. So then you've got to start promoting academy players, and the squads are limited to 25, and then you've got X amount of homegrown players. Is bigger squads the answer here to sort this out? Because bigger squads inevitably means lower quality.
I'd say rotation. I don't say not bigger squads. Like I'm just going to use Saka, for instance, because he seems to play every game, every minute.
Yeah,
he needs.
I was so surprised when he came off the other day.
He needs rotating, and that boils down to the manager and how the manager's training midweek as well. Is the recovery sessions? Are they taking days off? Are in the sessions, are they doing high intensity? Are they doing long miles? It boils down to the manager's training program, I suppose, as well. And I think I'm going to use Ten Hag an example for this one as well. He mentioned that he's putting the miles into the players, and they have to run a certain amount of distance. But with that comes consequences, and I think, especially last season, and probably all the other teams last season, I reckon most teams were running too much or doing high intensity trainings midweeks and not emphasising on the recovery aspect of it. But yes, rotation is the number one thing to kind of get rid of these players who are saying that they're fatigued and there's lots of games. Well, managers should rotate them.
The only thing with rotation is you're putting more things at risk then with the need to win, especially for the clubs at the top. Your best players want to play every game. Look at Ronaldo if he's on the bench at 39 years old. If he's on the bench, he's sulking. He hates missing games. He wants to play every game. So, and if they're fit, then fine. But rotation, I actually think Messi's done this well throughout his career, and you would see him even at 27, 28, be rested at like a midweek game at Getafe or somewhere like that. You'd see him on the bench and no one would even bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
this is what I can't take credit for it, but Simon Jordan said this, and he said if you're going in to negotiate your contract, let's say you are one of these top players who is going to probably have a deep run in most competitions. If you are super concerned about and you want to, get the longest out of your career as possible, avoid injury, what have you, say to your club, say, I'll come and sign for you, no problem, but I want no more than 50 appearances all year, or whatever that magic number is. I don't know what that number would be. And these players hold all the power in all the negotiations anyway. You're not telling me that if Rodri, we'll keep going back to him because he's just on the tip of my tongue. If Rodri goes in to negotiate a new contract and he says, I'll do everything, a player of his caliber, they're not going to say no to that. And then in the end, they get a healthier player. So, and again, it comes back down to what Luke was saying about fitness and squad management, but there's ways and means around this without disrupting the entire football, ecosystem for the sake of a very, very small number of players. It's like, the needs of the few far outweigh the needs of the many, and it doesn't often work that way. But yeah, go on, Luke.
We've got to consider one size doesn't fit all as well, in regards to all players are not the same. And players like Ronaldo, yes, maybe his function to be able to take that intensity, but again, if you're applying that to the whole squad, then not all players are like that. So again, it's just player management, and I'm sure the top teams are capable of that. I think that's no kind of mystery. I think they do that, but it's just rotation. Again, I'm using Saka. Just give him a break once.
I do feel like, even as a fan who loves to watch him, I'm like, mate, you don't need to play today. I'll take him off after half an hour, or like 60 minutes or something. Just get someone on. Don't have to leave him on till 85th minute. Yeah, I agree. And I still see the pressure will be on, and they're going to keep adding cups and tournaments, and something doesn't. I think something needs to be done from an organisational point of view. It's maybe unfair to just label this that the clubs have to deal with it. Liam, can you summarise it for us? Where the argument stands and where you think it's going to end up?
I don't think much will change, to be completely honest. I don't see how it can. I think maybe at some point the English League will probably restructure. Maybe do 2 Premier Leagues similar to the Bundesliga in Germany. Maybe 16, maybe 18. But I think we're years off it. I don't see anything changing in the short term, to be completely honest.
No.
Sorry.
Well, we'll consider it fixed because we come up with big squads and rotation. So this is another stamp in the fixed box.
But they're not going to fix it. Sometimes these things just have to play out, and it may be that some massive legal case comes through.
Yeah,
that usually gets people moving when money starts to be an issue. But I just can't see anything happening in the immediacy.
Right.
Todd Bowley's fixed it, really, hasn't he?
Just sign them all. Going to be the only squad able to deal with this calendar left at them at the moment.
Rotate. New team every other week.
Everyone needs a bomb squad.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you, everyone, once again, who is involved with the nominating process for the Football Content Awards. Details will be out this week where you can go and vote for us, and it would mean the world if you did. We might not win. We probably won't win. There's a lot of big hitters in there, but we'll go in there with a smile. And we're gonna listen. We're new kids on the block, mate. Still, we're 1 year old.
It can't be Arteta, mate. That second's not good enough. Like we're not all Arsenal where second is winning. This is the real thing now.
Right, I'll cut that there. Listen, Football Content Awards are coming up. Details will be out this week where you can vote. We're gonna win the whole fucking lot, and next year we're coming back for everything.
Yeah.
So please do like and subscribe and share the video wherever you can. It means a lot. We're steadily growing. Thank you for all the responses on the clips and getting in touch. Get in touch on Twitter. You can chat away and join in the conversation, and you can find all the information for that at www.fixingfootballpodcast.com, and we will see you on the next one. Say bye, boys.
Goodbye.
See you in a bit. Goodbye.